And biology is really, really tough on one hand. But it's also very rewarding. Now we work in clinical programs that
Wow.
we were able to show that we correct the disease in patient-derived cells in a genetic, very severe genetic disease.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel. Today we're going to be diving deep into biotech and intellectual property. Meet Rachel Diamant, Chief IP Officer and Head of Pipeline Development of Emendo Biotherapeutics. Emendo was founded in 2015 by Rachel and a group of classmates from Weizmann. Her role at Emendo as Chief Intellectual Property Officer and Head of Pipeline Development includes designing an IP strategy for Emendo that both generates an extensive patent portfolio to cover various novel aspects of the technology and products, and also navigates the IP space. Additionally, she is building Emendo's pipeline of clinical programs and the academic and industrial collaborations and partnerships for the preclinical development of Emendo's selected indications and genomic targets. Rachel Diamant, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be talking to you about Emendo and biotherapeutics and the role of intellectual property within biotech and gene editing. And there's so much to talk about. You have a phenomenal journey behind you from biotech engineering from the Technion, Masters in Neuroscience from Weizmann Institute of Science. You've co-founded Emendo with classmates from the Weizmann Institute after being a serial entrepreneur with a few other companies that are also just incredible, that are dealing with similar topics. Rachel, before we dive into biotherapeutics and what you're doing with Emendo, can you briefly mention a few of the key milestones on your journey, but from the lenses of how they helped you progress, either as an entrepreneur or a leader?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, the academic background, I guess that's especially in engineering, when I went into the field of also medical device and biotech, it gave me a lot of flexibility to understand, complex systems like MRIs and heavy technology on the engineering side. So my education was very helpful and helped me stay very versatile with the fields I was able to dive into. So I guess that's one point. I think the other would be probably when I started working at Sheba Medical Center in the technology transfer unit, where I first dived into the world of IP strategy and really how to construct an IP portfolio that would make sense and would generate value. And I could also understand why there are what's missing in this field, why it's not always being done in an optimized way. And that also helped me to develop, to master that and to really develop my own capabilities around that, which is really a key point also in our discussion.
Right.
And maybe also as a child, my father is a physician and he's a surgeon. And I was always very interested and very intrigued by the human body and biology, but also medical systems, and to understand how that world operates. So it all came together during the years to where I am right now.
Amazing. So let's start from the intellectual property side, which you're dealing with today, because I think it's an interesting question to be asked when you're developing deep technology or something that is, that is really core to the value of an organization or a company. What is this? What is sort of the struggle or the constraints in terms of intellectual property in the biotech space, and what is the role of the IP strategist in protecting that domain expertise in your company?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's very important. So I think often, and I saw, numerous examples of that. IP at companies is usually handled in a crooked way. So, the companies develop technology and they have really cool and novel technology. And then they go to the patent attorney and the patent attorney writes a patent on the technology. And if you do it that way, you would more often than not, I don't want to generalize, but more often than not, you will not get a good patent that really helps you, that really generates value, because patents are not about writing or of technology. It's about being really a business tool, and you have to ask the right questions before you go and draft a patent. So you really have to ask, what's the product? Who will be buying the product? Where will you be making the product? So these specific questions, if they're not asked and not analyzed, usually you'd get a patent that covers the technology, but doesn't cover the product. And product and technology are often not the same. They may be overlapping, but your patents have to be directed to the product, the way it's going to be designed, its final design, and the different components that's going to be in it, and what you're actually going to be selling. I can give you like an example. This was really mind blowing for me when I realized that. So for example, in the glucose sensing space, you have companies developing glucose sensors and writing all the patents because the technology is in the glucose sensor, it's in the sensor. Mm-hmm. But then you find out that they're actually not selling the sensor. They're giving it away for free. And their entire business model is based on the strips, on the strips that they're selling. And there's no patent covering that. And so this is where you see that the patents don't cover the actual product that the company is selling. And that happens a lot, more often than not. And it's fascinating because the patents are like the major asset of the company. It's the value driving. And if it's not directed correctly to the actual product, to the components, to what's going to be in the final product that's the company is selling, you don't get valuable patents. Actually, these patents are often not enforceable, not protectable, and they're just off.
Right. I think, we're in 2021, and I think a lot of the conversation has shifted from patents. When I'm looking at a lot of my friends leaving university or 8200, I don't think many of them are thinking about patenting their technology. And perhaps that is because a lot of it is software based. But are we shifting away from patents and intellectual property holding, or is it just that the domain that I'm living in has less of that, but it's still very much considered reputable in biotech?
Yeah. So I think you're right. In software, it is moving away from patents. They used to write a lot of patents on software, but it really doesn't have a lot of value. So and you disclose a lot, and your ability to really enforce those patents is really low. So yes, software is really moving away from patents, but in the technology world, in tangible technology, definitely patents are still ruling big time and getting even more and more strong. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And so tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey within biotech. And I want you to start with, what is biotech from your lens? And as you're going through the Technion and then you're diving into neuroscience at Weizmann, what are some of the convictions that you understand that you're going to employ as a strategy as an entrepreneur?
So I guess at the time I wasn't, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I was just fascinated by the field and the technology and the biology. I didn't know what I was going to do with this. I'm very entrepreneurial, but that's my nature. And so I was always looking around to see what's going on, and started working at Sheba Medical Center, which brought a lot of innovation to my table, which was also really, really interesting. And the processes inside the hospital, how to develop a project. So I was exposed to that entrepreneurial, ventures from my role as IP from the IP side. And then when I started working with David Barra, my good friend from school, where he's my classmate, and we were good friends from the very beginning, from the first day of school at the fire drill. We got together, and I guess we're good friends ever since. And when I started working with him 10 years ago, or a bit more, again, started on the IP side, but I think we are very similar in the way we think, and that we're very similar in our ambitions. And so it was kind of natural to start, developing projects together. David is a super talented entrepreneur, a brilliant scientist, and a brilliant businessman. And so it just, it was a lot of fun. We were having a lot of fun during, the work, and working together so synergistically. So we started, more and more projects, and moving forward in this world of establishing companies, and taking technology forward, and funding it, and all these challenges of this space. But
Amazing.
luckily, I'm really, really fortunate to work with such amazing people who are my close friends as well.
Wonderful. Okay, so Emendo, genes. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about the problem space and how you're tackling it.
So it really started. David comes from Adayonat's lab, and so he comes from structure function of proteins, and protein engineering. And then we also started working together with Lior, who just came back from Harvard from his postdoc, and he came with this world of DNA repair and DNA damage response, and also Noam, who's also from the same lab, doing from the world of DNA repair. And together we kind of realized that if we take the current tools like CRISPR, basically, and combine it with protein engineering, we can actually do a lot of improvements and a lot of progress in the field. Because protein engineering is very powerful methodology if you want to take proteins and you want to evolve them and change their properties and make them better adapted to what they're supposed to do. So, CRISPR is like, it's a tool that came from bacteria. It's an immune system of bacteria. And it was never designed to work in the mammalian cell context. So if you want to take a protein from one context where it was evolved in evolution for millions of years, and you want to take it into a new context, you need to make adjustments. You need to change it. And this is what we decided that we're going to do with protein engineering. It's a methodology called directed evolution, where you actually take a protein, you introduce changes, and you screen what happened with those changes to see how did you change the protein. So you put up assays that will help you screen those variants, and really be able to select those specific variants that have improved characteristics. And then you continue with that variants to develop genetic medicines.
So I know very, very little about what you're talking about, but that sounds fascinating, and I love the phrase "direct evolution." How much of it is, when you're trying to simulate what would happen given a change in protein over a scale and over evolution? How much of it is software-based simulations versus physical ones?
So it started on the physical side. We started by setting up the generating protein libraries. These are really large libraries. These are 10 in the ninth large libraries of protein variants that you want to screen. So the screening procedure and the assays that report are really important.
Mm-hmm.
But only at a later stage, I guess only after almost 2 years after this company started, we really started building also our what is called bioinformatics, which is the software people
Mm-hmm.
coming in and analyzing this huge amount of data that we're generating, and starting to building models and to do predictions, and to and today we have actually a really, really wonderful and very, very professional unit of bioinformatics now with of like 6 PhDs in that field that are writing codes for and really also for streamlining our work, but also for extracting insights from this huge amount of data we're generating. So this
Amazing.
is really fascinating process.
And so maybe, I think one of the most impactful things I can gain out of this also is this understanding of what it means to create a biotech company. One of the companies that I've been most fascinated by recently is Imuni, by two good friends. And I've been asking myself, what is it like running a biotech company as an entrepreneur, or as a serial entrepreneur in your case, in comparison to that of a traditional B2B SaaS and cyber or traditional AI? Can you walk me through some of the big milestones that you would experience as an entrepreneur in deep technology biotech space?
Yeah, so I think it's very different because biology is very challenging and you never know if it's going to work. You never know. It's not like in software you decide to do something and then you have to just make it, but there's not a
Yeah,
lot of mystery around if it's going to work or not. You just generate what you want, what you want to do. You have some people, computers, whatever, and you just do it. And in biology, there's a lot of unknown and a lot of work that needs to put into setting up the right systems that will report correctly on what you want to see. And there's also, there's always the unknown. Will we find the
right,
solution? Will we have it? We don't know. Will it work? Will it? And also, you work in this in the context of human disease. So you're also very much dependent on the literature and what is already known, the mechanism,
right,
is it fully elucidated? Do you know exactly what you're going to do in the human cell once you do the genome editing? What will be the outcome? Will you be able to fix the phenotype to correct the disease? So there's a lot of unknowns, and biology is really, really tough on one hand. Um, but it's also very rewarding. Now we work in clinical programs that
wow,
we were able to show that we correct the disease in patient-derived cells in a genetic, very severe genetic disease that children have. So when you're able to develop a cure for that, it is actually crazy.
And how early in your life did you know that this is the world you're going to be living in?
Oh, very early on. I was sitting with my dad for hours, asking him about the digestion system and the CNS and how things work in the body. I think biology was always. I had no question in my mind that this is what I'm going to do when I grow up. I thought
Amazing.
to be a physician at first, but then I realized that this is not what I want to do. I think also, I guess, for my father, realizing that the system is it's very challenging. The medical system to work in as a physician is very challenging, and you're very constrained. So, and I also love the technology, so I took on a different direction of,
Very,
and
very cool.
engineering would be good, which it really was.
Really good. I want to spend the last few minutes continuing on the same path and understanding you a little bit better. So going back to the childhood, what part of this really was the fascinating aspect to you? Was it the unknown? Was it the uncovering? Was it the actual the medical side of things? The impact that it could have?
So I guess it's the medical side of things, and really understanding how the body works from the organ level to the cellular level to the molecular level. It's really just amazing, and I think that also drove me in another direction that I'm very interested in, and I spent a lot of time, reading and understanding nutrition and health and supplements and etc. Because this, coming from the science and understanding the biochemistry and understanding physiology and metabolism, then it connects to how the world really works and what impacts our body, environmental factors, nutritional factors. And I've been able to also, affect my own health as well as my friends. Everyone who's close to
Amazing.
me knows that eating junk food around me is not a very recommended situation.
Amazing. And what inspires you today as you go about your journey in your day to day when you're working with genes or in any of your other biotech companies?
Sorry, go again. My kids just got in.
What inspires you today, in your day to day life, either as you're working on genes or biotech in general?
So I think, innovation and like groundbreaking innovation is really mind blowing. And whenever we find solutions that are completely novel and very effective, then this is then this is mind blowing. I think that what inspires me today.
Amazing. And what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself?
I think innovator. I'm also optimistic and relentless.
I love it. Rachel, thank you very much. Toda rabba. I hope that you go ahead and make a huge positive impact with everything that you do. I really appreciate your time, and stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love